Have you been a victim of bullying or feel like your life is worthless and that you're not good enough? I'm Waylon Myers, and I have experienced these issues all my life. Standing Strong with Waylon Myers allows you to talk about these challenging life struggles and gives you a trusted platform and courage to discuss these things as I interview people around the world, as your life is worth it and you are strong. As I want to make a difference in this world, being well, honest, and inspiring. Happy Monday, everyone. Wow, this is now the 32nd episode of Standing Strong. I'm Waylon Myers, and my guest for this week is Johnny Avila. And before we get into his interview, I want to read this quote. Sometimes all it takes is a few positive quotes or words of encouragement to immediately turn your life to the better. All right, sit back and enjoy Johnny Avila's episode of Standing Strong. Johnny Avila is an actor, model, artist, director, writer, and producer who works in all kinds of entertainment, social media platforms, theater, television, and film. He is best known for acting in the Doorman YouTube series, Changing the Lives of Other People. Johnny also starred in Well Done, Red Street Mercy, The Magical Christmas Tree, and more. So you see, this talented man is always likes to plan and strives to do things for the better. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you my 32nd guest on Standing Strong with Waylon Myers, Johnny Avila.
Woo! Yeah! I like that. Woo! I like that. I'm gonna have you be my announcer if I ever play in a movie or come out like at Rocky or something. It's like, come on, it's pool.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow, it's interesting when you hear somebody else say your story, and I think everyone needs to hear somebody else tell their story, because then you're like, wow, we're all human, we're all connecting with one another. But when you hear somebody else say it, you're like, wow, that's me. I appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. At this time, can you just say a little bit about yourself that I did not mention in the introduction?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So a little bit about myself is I'm a native Californian, and I grew up as a dairy farmer, and my family are farmers, but I grew up allergic to hay, so I couldn't breathe the air.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed indoors a lot watching TV, and my family made their own films. We made our own films growing up. And I grew up with 6 brothers, 2 sisters. And so we all just made our own stuff growing up. And then one day this thing called the internet got invented. And then everybody could see your home videos, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's the cool part of connecting with everyone. But yeah, I used to be a teacher for 20 years.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's I don't know how to explain it, but it's been really interesting, because you have this concept in your head like, hey, I want to go do this, and then it happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight, but it's there's this great quote. I always love quotes, and when I was a teacher, I always did like the quote of the day, and it's like, you got to stay motivated. So that's what I love about your show, is that you're just like, hey, who cares? I liked your video. Like, who cares if you're this or that? I'm the same way. I wear glasses, and I did the same thing. Like, who cares if I wear glasses? My best friend growing up as a kid, Lee Alves, we didn't know this is going to sound really, I hope we didn't know he didn't know how to walk until 6th grade. Because we never looked at him that way. And one day Lee goes, because he had crutches in a wheelchair, but we never looked at him that way. Does that make sense? So one day he got lazy and he goes, hey, can you give me some glue? And I'm like, what, Lee? You can't walk? And he goes, yeah, I can't walk. And I'm like, go get it yourself, Lee. And so that's what I love about growing up, was that some of my best friends, they were capable of everything and anything. All they needed was the right equipment. And so he rode bicycles with us when we were kids. His dad took a torch and re-welded the bike, and he pedaled with his hands.
Wow.
And so that's what I like about working with Darman Studios, is that it's like a Cinderella story. And a lot of kids think that they're all Cinderella story. I'm like, well, have you ever watched the movie Cinderella Man? It's a boxer. He kind of like lost everything and got it all back. I relate to that story. And that's what I love about working with Darman Studios is I really thought that in my head, manifestation, that just like you, while you're doing your show, hey, like, let's connect the world, and like, why be negative towards one another? Like, the
right.
Life is hard enough as it is. So,
Speaking of Darman, you have played in a lot of his film. Which was your favorite one, Durbin?
Okay, so I really love this question, and I've done over like 15 different films, and some people are like, that many? I'm like, yeah, sometimes I get a little small part or here or there, but my favorite of all time that changed everything for me, it was a game changer. Okay, I get a little emotional sometimes because it really, you can see I'm getting nervous.
You're fine.
It's the one that Sniper Wolf did on us, because up until this point, everyone's like, before this, nobody really understands that Darman 5 years ago, nobody even knew who this guy was. Yeah. And now he's the second largest YouTuber. I consider the number one YouTuber for family-friendly entertainment.
Yeah, right.
And it's played around the world. And oh, by the way, my family's Portuguese. And so because he puts it in Portuguese, they're like, wow, your Portuguese is so good. I'm like, oh, yeah. It really is, but that's a voiceover artist who did that. But my favorite one is the one that Sniper Wolf did on us, and it's where I bring home my I get so excited, I got to calm down. Whew. ADHD kicks in. I bring home my adopted daughter, Brianna Walker, and my other daughter, Sophia, goes, well, she's not your daughter, I'm your daughter, and only to find out that they're both adopted. And the reason why that's the special one is because it was probably like my fifth Darman film. But at this point, this was a bigger role. And the other part was, this is what I really, really loved about Darman is, I never got to be a dad in my real life, right? So I played dad in the dark. So everything that didn't happen in my real life happens in the Darman world, right? I get to be the cool dad. I get to have kids. I get to live rich, And Brianna Walker, like in that moment with that pumpkin pie, she goes, "That was a real moment that we had." That someone goes, "How'd you guys cry?" I go, "Well, that literally happened." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, no one's really called me dad, and she's doesn't really have her own dad." And so we consider ourselves on set father and daughter. And was really special because and we grew as a family that day. And Brianna and Sophia became best friends that day too. And just a lot of good things came about it, because what people don't understand is just because you may or may not be able to have kids or whatever it is, that the message in that video was you don't need to be blood to be related.
Right.
And that I just get chills for that I'm a citizen of the world, and the fact that we're in two different countries talking to one another about this. So that's why it's my favorite of all times, because it changed me as an actor. Because it went from these are lines to, oh wow, this hits home, because it's interesting because the roles that you get, they say that the universe or God sends you those roles.
Mm-hmm.
Like the roles that you're scared to play are the roles you get. So I play the guy who cries. Like I'm that guy. And that's what I got made fun of as a kid growing up, you know, got bullied,
Yeah.
you know, got called crybaby. So
Yeah. One of my favorite films that you did with Dorman is when you was homeless during Christmas with your son, Aiden.
Oh, yes. Wow, you're really digging deep in me.
Yeah.
I like this. This is awesome. Yeah, because see, what people don't get is when I first started with Darman Studios, the pandemic hit. So
Mm-hmm.
like there was literally no studio. Like we literally met out in parks. We met in parking lots. We met, you know, and so that's when Aiden, and here's the thing, I'm a fan of the show too.
Uh-huh.
So excuse me.
You're excused.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
a fan of the show, so I was split between like, wow, I'm acting to like, oh my God, there's Aiden and there's Carl and there, you know, and there's Devin, right? And the cool part about that was they changed the script because they couldn't find an old iPhone. They were going to go with the flip phone, and I'm like, hang on, hold up, I got you covered.
Yeah.
And I used, actually, that's my real phone, but now I have a new phone, which is nice. But what I really liked about that was it's probably one of the last times I got to work with Carl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to apologize for my emotions because
No,
that's
you're
what
fine.
that's what I get. That's what I get paid to, you know, that's what that's what it is. I get paid to show my emotions. But
This
yeah,
show, it's about well, honest, and expiring. So it's fine.
Oh, you're so supportive. I love that about you. I love that about you. You create a safe. I'm one of those people. I have to be in a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I have to be in a safe space. And Carl and Devin and everyone created that safe space. And if anything, I've learned through Darman that I've applied to my life, and I've always had it, but it's just nice to get reinforced. Is that just in being grateful for just like, hey, I got a cup of coffee. There's a roof over my head. There's a lot, you know, if you had to trade places with a king or a queen 500 years ago, would you? And the students go, well, yeah. And I said, well, there's no penicillin and there's no ice cream and there's no, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, that's right. There's no video games. I'm like, yeah. So when we compare our lives to other people, well, yeah. But if you look at just what you already have, until you lose it, and if you look at one of behind the scenes, I talk about that. I was in an accident. Until you don't walk, you don't appreciate your feet. It's sad, but sometimes you got to lose everything to gain everything. And that's what I apply in my acting roles. So that's what I love about acting. I get to time travel, get to live 1,000 lives. And then every now and then you meet some people that change see, the thing about with Carl was that you had it, like just looking at his eyes, and him looking back and giving you that, like, hey, I'm with you. I got that. Just as a human to a human, like forget the acting, just that alone. That's the part that I got, if anything, was like, wow, he's really, oh, wow, I'm getting so emotional. That's the part. And then that's the thing about that I get too, is that we get as actors, these stories are immortal. And so Carl, it's still there. Like you could still watch it. It's still there, and it keeps going and going. And like for, not that views matter, but it's insane. I went for an audition the other day and someone goes, hey, you're on this show that gets like 30 billion views. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's insane. So when I used to substitute teach, and I can't substitute teach anymore because of Darman Studios. I lost so many jobs because I was signing autographs, and the school's like, what are you doing? And I had no idea about the phenomenon that happened. I would meet kids that were like in bad situations, like in gangs and stuff. And because they watched the Darman video and I was their substitute teacher, they're just like, oh my God. And I said, no, these stories really are changing people's lives, because I think what it is like we've come so as we have more technology to become more connected, we're becoming more disconnected.
Yeah.
And that through these little stories, regardless of what people think or not think, it reminds us of, and that's exactly what your show's about. That's why I wanted to do this, was about humanity. Like, life is tough enough as it is. Why do we need to do this to each other even more?
Yeah.
So,
thanks. Were you a victim of bullying? If so, how did you overcome it? And if not, what advice would you give on bullying?
I really like this question because Brianna Walker and everyone and the others, just like be a buddy, not a bully. And see, the thing is, people think that bully only happens like once in your life, maybe twice when you're young, and then it's over. No, actually, it happens throughout your whole life.
It does.
Throughout your whole life. I've been bullied I've been a bully. You know what I mean? Someone goes, what? I go, people who get bullied turn into bullies, if you don't change and learn and change that, and so that's why heal people, and hurt people, hurt people. And so that's why, and just so for me, I was called crybaby a lot. Four eyes. I already got the comebacks in my head. 4 eyes are better than 2 eyes. Yeah. I wrote a whole solo show. Where did I have it right here. About me being a special. I should have had this already out here. How do I not have this out here already? Where did I put it? My bad. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So I wrote a solo show called The Whistleblower, and it's about a special ed kid named Johnny Boy, which is me, who became a teacher, and who I grew up with pneumonia, asthma, thalassemia, allergic to hay. My family are dairy farmers, and I grew and the house is literally in the middle of 100 green acres of hay. So that's what I loved about watching Superman, because it was like, oh my God, here's this little kid, born on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and the kryptonite was my alfalfa, and so having 6 older brothers helped me not get bullied as much. And so I don't know if I should tell this story, but it is kind of bad, but everything worked out. So all right. I'm just going to say this story.
Go ahead.
It's a crazy story. It ends up with somebody getting hit with a truck. All right. So when I was a kid, this one kid would bully me every day. We'd take a basketball. He would, like, no matter where you were standing on the schoolyard, he'd just throw it at you. And anytime my teacher turned, oops, I was just trying to make a shot. Just turns out, no matter, like, how could the hoop be over here? And then you're standing in the lunch line and a ball hits you in the, this guy just kept doing this. And so one day he didn't show up to school, and someone goes, what happened? He goes, oh, he got hit by a truck. And then like a month goes by, he comes back to school. He's got a new bicycle, and he's got a new attitude, and he's kind of nice to everyone. And we became friends, went to high school as friends and everything. This was about 30 years ago. Over 30 years ago, I just found out the guy who was driving the truck was my older brother.
Wow.
That's how he dealt with. I go, what happened? He said, Johnny, you're so innocent that if we told you, I'm like, you what? He goes, it was kind of it wasn't on purpose. It just happened to work out that way. And I go, what goes around comes around. But for the most part, I got bullied as a teacher from not just by students, but by other teachers. So what I did was I wrote a show about it. So that's what I love about being an artist, is that you can take your pain. And I think that's what it's there for, actually. I think it's there for an opportunity. Because if you grew up with everything working out for you, how would you know it worked out for you? Right. So I believe God gives you these opportunities to show your strength. You know, God's not going to take away the bully. God's going to give you the opportunity to deal with the bully, right?
Yep.
And most bullies, if you really think about it, it's sad. It's sad because it's somebody's. It comes down to like lack of self-love or their environment. So this other school bully, right? This other school bully. Man, we hated this guy. Like, I mean, you're talking about like from kindergarten, but like he would always pass the test, right? And we're just like, shh. So basically about time, and this is a small little school in the middle of nowhere. And then he goes, so finally 6th grade, we were just like, that doesn't, let's just make friends with him. We can't beat him. Let's just, you know what I mean? And it turned out that he didn't have the best home life. And we're just like, oh, whoa. So we flipped it, and then we all kind of ganged up on the bully, but with kind of not in an aggressive way, but more in a like, hey, let's like join the football team with us. What? Well, in order to join the football team, you got to get your grades up. And then, like we just kind of like everyone needs a family, you know what I mean? And so that it's nice. That's one thing I miss about my little town of Tipton, California. I'm just going to give my little town a shout out. Yeah. Tipton Tigers. And that we all grew up in a very small little country agriculture town in the middle of nowhere between Bakersfield and Fresno. If you ever watched the movie McFarlane with Kevin Costner, it's kind of like that, but our school was a lot smaller. But yeah, so he ended up. And so when I became a teacher, I reversed it. I was like, hey, why don't we just become the gang that kind of like switches it around? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, who says it? I was like, what if we just become a group of people that band together and then eventually just become our own support system. And so I taught for, I don't know if you ever heard of Future Farmers of America, the FFA. It's something I believe. Not. Oh, okay. It is. It's for agriculture kids, and not just agriculture. I shouldn't say agriculture kids. It's about agriculture education, and so what I like about it was it didn't matter who you were. I had kids from like all the way from special needs with, and that was another favorite video that I did with Darman was the autism.
Yeah.
And so I had students that drove tractors to valedictorians. And so we had a school farm, and that's what I was explaining. Like I never had a flower call me a name. I never had a horse, call me a name. I never had, you know what I mean? So that's what I love about nature and being in the gardens and being outside, was because it's like, that had nothing to do with intelligence. It had the, and so that's what my show's about. I quote Albert Einstein a lot. If you measure a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing that it's stupid. So what I did was I had by being bullied, I had this negative belief system about myself. And then I wrote a show about it, which was cool. But here's the thing about it. Who I became to write the show, it took me 5 years to write it because I'd never written anything before. And so I was in these writing classes in LA, and some people were getting kind of upset at me. Like, what's this guy doing in this class? I was like, well, I never grew up with, I never written anything before. No, I never done it before. You know what I mean? But eventually what happened was the things that we're hiding from the world are the things that we need to show the world. And that's Absolutely. What I like about the Darman world. And so what happened was I was trying to blend in with the LA people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just trying to blend in, hide everything about me, put on a mask like everyone else. Right. And then one day I had the substitute teacher, and they said, you didn't do your work. And I said, of course I did my work. And they're like, no, you didn't, because you didn't do this, this, and this. And I'm just like, whoa. And then all of a sudden it triggered me, and I snapped, and I just went, hey, don't tell me I didn't do my work. I did my work. It may not be as good as everybody else's, but I have to work 10 times harder to work with everybody else. As I grew up as a special, and I just like went on a rant. And then they were like, Johnny, that's what your show should be about. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, they're like, you grew up special ed hiding this? And they're like, wait, you grew up working your whole life? I'm like, yeah, didn't everybody else? Turns out not everybody grew up working their whole life. I started off when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
I had no idea. I had no idea. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Turns out where I grew up is one of the hardest areas in the United States to grow up. We have the highest prison system. We have the highest crime rate, one of the highest crime rates and poverty rates. But it's more basically where half the food in the United States comes from. And I had no idea. And so that's what happened. I ended up always wanted to do acting, grew up doing acting, making my own films as a kid with my family. And then just like everyone else, I guess you had to figure out a job to get paid, didn't want to be poor. And then one day someone said, a friend said, how about being an agriculture teacher? And I was like, you know what? Because on the farm, I was a genius, but in school, I wasn't. It turns out I ended up in special ed because I couldn't open up my box of milk the first day of kindergarten. They're like, wow, Johnny can't open up his box of milk. Well, here's the thing. I grew up my milk came from a jar, a jug, a container, from the nipple of a cow. You with me? But never from a sealed box.
Yeah.
And so my brain I was like, why would, and so one person's looking at you like you're stupid, and I'm looking at them like you're stupid. But it depends on if 9 out of 10 people are saying it's blue when really it's yellow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you grow up in that type of environment, right? It's really hard to get out. I know I've been rambling on, but
no, you're fine.
But yeah, so that's it's so, like I was telling this people, I go, it's interesting that, like, for instance, I did this Western film, right? And like we were talking about Wise Guy Christmas. All right, so what happened was I'm an independent filmmaker, so we're making this independent film. This guy reaches out to me. We just got done doing this Western. He goes, hey, Johnny, can you help us out on this one film? I said, you know what? I really don't know how to do that. It was helping out the director with the camera lenses. I said, I'm not really, I can learn, but really not. My friend Linda Wong can do that. And so she got on board. She calls me. She's like, Johnny, get over here. One of the actors didn't show up. She's like, I'm like, what? She goes, they need a lawyer. So I'm like, I show up. And I do it. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, that's pretty good. Can you do another scene? I was like, great. It's not even written. I improv it. So that's what I love. I'm a strong improver. I graduated from Second City Hollywood, where everyone from Saturday Night Live graduated from.
Yeah.
Because I'm great at making my lines up, but memorizing and learning it. So I created that negative mindset about myself. And so after doing my solo show, right? See, I didn't go to some fancy drama school. I didn't grow up in the industry like everyone else, right, to a certain degree. But by writing my own show and telling my own story, I learned 38 pages of dialogue. I performed it 5 times, live streamed it, even went to Montana. So who I became chasing my dream is far more important. And then here's the other thing. So the guy who, I'm all about the law of attraction. And so the guy, Kenny, who videotaped my first show of Whistleblower, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember the creepy coach on Darman who harasses the tennis player?
Yeah.
He says it's not.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's Kitty. He's the one, my videographer for my live streaming.
Nice.
And there I was on set, and I was like, shoot, I got to pay the bills. And I'm literally filming that day, like in 3 hours. And Darman calls me up. Hey, you got to go. I'm like, I'm on it. And then someone goes, hey, you're there with Kenny. I'm like, wait a second. How do you know who this guy is? They said, oh, because he's your videographer tonight. And so the acting world is getting a little smaller and smaller in such a good way when you see your friends or people that you work with joining the Darman family. And so so Kenny, what he did was not an easy job. Oh my God. I've been very fortunate that I've been playing the good guy. I think I've only played the bad guy once, and I'm not wearing a mask for political reasons. Other than that, I've been pretty lucky playing the good guy, but it's tough playing the bad guy. And Kenny did such a good job. And because that's what I like about when Darman started doing behind the scenes, was the show that we're just actors and don't read the comments. oh my God, don't read the comments.
Yeah. Now, on to the next question. What hardships did you experience in your life, and what were some ways you overcame them?
Ooh. Yeah. All right. This is a good story. All right. All right. So, you know how I was talking about how I grew up allergic to hay? My family are farmers, right? Mm-hmm. So that kind of separates you from everyone else already, because all of a sudden now you can't do the work as everyone else. And so anyway, so I've always had this mentality trying to keep up with my brother Matthew, who was a stuntman for Quentin Tarantino. He's one of the reasons why and how I jumped into the film industry was because of two of my brothers who are in the industry. And anyhow, one day I talked Matthew into, and I talk about my brother Matthew in my solo show because we go river rafting in Brazil, and always trying to be like my big brother Matt. My big brother Matt, he's bigger, stronger, like Brad Pitt, but he's got a heart of gold too. So you can't even hate the guy, even if you want to.
Right.
Because he's such, and he's the guy that was like, he was such a good role model. He's got 9 kids today, same family, his daughter, only Jadis, is a big TikTok star. And anyway, so Matthew, we climbed Mount Whitney. And I don't know if you know what Mount Whitney is in the United States, but it's the tallest mountain besides not counting Alaska. Okay, Alaska, we ain't going to be messing with Alaska. It's a whole nother beast over there in Alaska.
Yeah.
You'll keep you over there, Alaska. But we're talking about the continental United States. And it's the tallest mountain, right? Over 14,000 feet. And you got to get permits to climb this thing. And I'm in Brazil with my brother Matthew, and we're talking. He's like, how he climbed it. And I got 6 older brothers, and it's called bragging rights. And I was like, I said, you know what, let's go climb it. So I talk him into it, and we're going to go climb Mount Whitney. And so so he goes, you could climb it in one day if you're athletic and all that other stuff. Well, I'm not. So, but I found another way to how to climb the mountain, and it's the back way. Which is, so one way is 13 miles, the other way is 70 miles. Mm-hmm. So I went 70 miles, but it was gradual.
Yeah.
Still hard, right? So, but that's just to get to the base camp. Are you with me? So we get there, and all of a sudden, this guy, they're telling me to go down. You have altitude sickness. But because I have this brother rivalry, I'm like, I can't do that. I'm puking. I can't even, there's no oxygen, by the way. And I have thalassemia, which is a red blood cell that doesn't combine with oxygen very well. And I'm at high altitude. There's no oxygen. There's none of this stuff. And I push through. And I'm on top of the mountain. I'm puking. I'm with my brother Mateus. And I go, man, I pushed through. And Matthew goes, push through? You have a breakthrough, John. Everyone told you to go down the mountain. You went up. I was like, yeah, it's a push through. And he goes, no, a breakthrough. What else can you do? And there I am on top of the highest mountain in the continental United States with no oxygen, no food, no water, winds blowing. You can get electrocuted, by the way, and die. And I had that moment going, I've been playing weak my whole life. I've been playing weak. My friend Lee didn't play weak. You know what I mean? Guy couldn't walk. You know what I mean? He works for John Deere. He runs the dealership in our home little, and I was like, man, I've been playing weak. And what else could I do? And then, so I changed my profession, went from being an agriculture teacher to being an actor, went something I've always wanted to do. And then what else can I do? And so that's been a hardship of, oh, here's the thing. I ended up in this backpacker magazine of the guy who climbed Mount Whitney, who wasn't supposed to climb Mount Whitney because doctors told him not to climb out. And they said, why didn't you say anything? I said, because if I told you, you wouldn't let me climb the mountain. Yeah. And so they're like, but you lied about it? I go, I didn't lie about it. I forgot because I didn't have any oxygen in my brain. Tell you. So I have these big ideas and these big ambitions. And then, and then you go for it. And then that's where you get tested. So,
How do you relieve or manage stress?
So those people who know me, my former students, I do apologize. I am Portuguese. I do have the Latin blood. I do yell and scream a lot. So what I do is I learned about myself. Is that I'm lightning in a bottle. So this is good. So I have this neighbor, right, in Ojai. I have my house in Ojai, and he's got these giant dogs from Japan, huge. And his name's Woody, and he's a big guy. And he put 80-pound packs on each of these dogs.
Wow.
He goes, you know why I put two 80-pound packs on these dogs? One, I don't have to, it goes, they need exercise. And that's a lot of exercise. I got to take them to get, Two, I got to slow them down. That way they don't hurt somebody. So just to let you know, right next to me I got a kettlebell.
Yeah.
So people are always at. I'm working out all the time. For me to be, this is going to sound so bad, but for me to be around the average person, I actually have to tire myself out before I get around you. I'm lightning. I'm always like here. If you don't believe, see right, kick that. See, yeah, I'm always, yeah. And then there's, see, that's a sandbag right there. Oop.
Yeah.
I hike with sandbags to tire me out. So God gave me the blessing of lightning in a bottle. So I have lots. That's one of the things I have. So you have to look at what God gave you. You know, what I mean? You got to look at the cards. You got to look at the cards. Like, you know what? So a lot of things is I strengthen my weaknesses, and then it gets to the point where if all you're focusing is on your weaknesses, then you keep forgetting all this other stuff that you're good at. So you might as well just focus on what you're good at. And it's like, so I got made fun of a lot for being hyper and, oh, he's all over the place and he's scatterbrained and all that. No, it turns out to be that there's different forms of being a genius. And so in the Briggs and Meyer personality test, I'm an INFJ, which is like 2% of the population. But learning about who I am, I literally will go exercise before I go somewhere, or like for instance, I would take my students into the backcountry in the Golden Trout Wilderness, but they would never give me a horse.
Yeah.
And they said, why? They're like, why doesn't Mr. Avila get a horse? They said, because he'll out hike the horse. And they're like, do you want him rested on a horse and then get him? No. Let's tire this guy out a little bit. And I think that's what it is. I grew up just working my whole life, that now that it's just me focusing on my dream, that it's like, shoot, man, I got to do something with all this energy. So, like today I was going to do the interview on my hike. I hike almost every day in LA, but I was like, oh, you know what? The sound might not work out or things like that. But to relieve stress, but the thing is too, is this, I have abs now. It's pretty cool to say that. I never thought I'd say that, but it was a goal I had a couple of years ago. And someone goes, what do you mean abs? I go, I'm a middle-aged man. My body is in better shape now than it was before. And the question was, if someone goes, oh, so you did that? I said, no. See, I didn't get in shape to get in shape. I did it for mental health.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like I did that. Like I wasn't like, you know, I did it for my mental health. And Sylvester Stallone, you know, Rocky, like we all love Rocky, right? You know, and he said it best, you know, he just said, life's tough, you know, so just get, you know, life's tough, just get tougher. And it's good mental health if you're out exercising. I'm a big fan of David Goggins. Right. You know, like when he said, I don't know if you know this about I used to teach shop. You know, I taught everything from biology to shop, the government. I taught 14 different subjects for this academy. But there's this thing on a motor called the governor. So like if you rent these big giant trucks, right? I just did a commercial actually for Shell gas station that's going to be played on Southwest Airlines, where I play a truck driver. But on trucks, some of these trucks, they don't want you to drive faster than 55. So they put this little thing called the governor to make sure you don't go past 55. And David Goggins gave this motivational speech about how he broke his governor, which is his mindset that, hey, what more can I do? And that's me on top of Mount Whitney going, hey, what more what more can I do? And so now I'm going to stunt school. I do my own stunts. I played this Western that's coming out, American Western. I play the sheriff, the bad sheriff. Boom, I get shot. I go down. I ride horses. I get the rope. And so it just turns out that because I was working on the mental health, my body got in shape. And because my body got on shape, I was able to do more other different activities, which then got me more roles. So I always use this analogy as, why does the bee go to the flower?
Yeah.
And I was with 600 agriculture teachers at the University of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, the capital of agriculture teachers around the world. And we all got it wrong. But my parents, who never went to college, got it right. Oh, I'm the first one in my family who got to college too. It's the bee goes to the flower to get nectar. And I went, wait, it goes there to pollinate it. No, it goes there to get nectar. It just happens to pollinate it. So as you're chasing your dream, all these other things happen. But if I was chasing, hey, I'm going to get muscles, or hey, I'm going to be famous, or I'm going to do all this, none of it would have happened.
Yeah.
None of it would have happened. And so that's what it's been. That's what I love about. I've done a lot of other commercials, things like that, but I can't say enough about Darman Studios, because that's. So I got to go to the movie premiere, Darman's first movie premiere. Yeah. And I still have the water, and I haven't even opened it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. Oh, by the way, this is the water that's on the trail when I went and climbed Mount Whitney. I'll drink a little bit of that to show you that nothing's impossible. Yeah. As long as you have good people and you have a plan, you have something to work towards. But I mean, it's so cliche to say it, but it's so. Like, you think once when people go, oh, here's this person, they're acting, people around the world can see you, da, 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 da. Like, wow, what's it like? And I'm like, and I said, who I became is far more important. But meeting people, because along the journey, I want to quit. I want to get, like, this is like, it's a 99.9% no. Like, and if you get a no, it's a blessing. Someone goes, why? Because sometimes they just ghost you, you know? But when you meet people, when you meet the people that watch the show and they tell you, or even this interview, you're just going like, wow, this is what I prayed for. Because it was like, well, God, why me? Out of all the actors in the world, why me? I can tell you why. Why John Avila? Why? Because I'm going to take everybody with me to the top. That's why. Straight, like, that's it. Yeah. I'm taking everyone to the top who's been made fun of. It's like, try messing with me now. You know what I mean? Try messing with me now. Try calling me. Like, go ahead. But you're just going to look really stupid. I go, so God will use a fool to prove a point. Right. Like, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I can't see. I can't breathe. Here I broke my hand. This hand was been broken 3 times in a school shop. I've been hand modeling, and the hand doctor's like, for 10 years, I've been getting shots. You can watch my Instagram video. And the hand, I was like, I know. I'll keep it PG, but I got out. I'm like, where did this? Everything got rejuvenated. For lack of a better term. I know I have a little speech impediment, but so along my journey, I watched all these other actors that have speech impediments or learning issues, like I always say life is like where did I put it? Yeah, here we go. One of my favorite X-Men characters. You want to know what my favorite? Thanks for asking me what my favorite X-Men character is. Yeah. I got it from my brother Matthew. It's Gambit, because he's kind of a part of the team, but he's not a part of the team. And so and I kind of feel that with the Darman Studios, because I'm there, but I'm not like there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But Gambit, he's the one that dealt out all the different cards. I lost my train of thought getting connected with you. But that's what it's getting the stories from people that's what it pushes you. You're like, okay, I can keep doing this. I want to keep doing this. There is times where one of my favorite Darman videos is when Aiden decided to quit Darman for being made fun of for being a Darman actor.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That saved me. That video saved me. Oh my God. Because I was going through that. And I was like, why does everyone like, you know what I mean? And Darman did a great video. No matter what you do, there's always going to be someone hating on you. And then PewDiePie got it. And I was just like, what a great example. So be around the people that love you.
Absolutely.
And that's what I love about your show. And it's just like, just be around the people that love you. And know the difference. For the longest time, I didn't know the difference. I just wanted friends so bad. Like, let me be your, I just wanted friends, you know what I mean? And then you start realizing who's a true friend or who's not a true friend. And I've done some videos of voiceover, some motivational stuff. And it's just like, know your worth, you know, and how Darman worked for me. I literally, it's sad, but true. I literally became a lone wolf. I literally became a hermit, cut myself off from everybody else and said, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I don't care how bad it gets. One way or another, I'm going to make it. And then one day you wake up and there's a fan page in India and you're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah. Why? Do you have a favorite inspirational quote that sticks to you to never give up?
Actually, yes. So I used to be a lot. So those people that know this about me know that I love quotes.
Yeah.
And so I used to put them around my whole room everywhere, but I have these ones right here that I'm going to pull off and read to you. Mm-hmm. Let me grab that. There we go. I'm glad you actually asked this question. I love this question.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Okay. All right. So this one I got from my brother Matthew, the one I was telling you about, Clay Mal Whitney, who became a stuntman for Quentin Tarantino and all that. He's the reason why I even quit my job as a teacher, because he said, if you don't quit your job you're just going to grow up and be a bitter old man if you don't start living your dream. Because there's A goals, which are goals that you know you can do, and B goals are goals that you think you can do. So I knew I could be a farmer, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. And B goals, hey, I think I could be a teacher, but C goals is what I'm currently doing now.
Yeah.
And so Matthew, it's this quote right here. I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
Much seems hard that's never dared. Much is never dared because it seems too hard.
Love it. And
then I added to it. And so I got a little biblical and stuff. And someone goes, you're biblical? I'm like, it's not in that way. It's I had some near-death experiences. So I'm speaking for my own personal testimony. You believe whatever you want. Greater that is in me, that is in this world. You know, and then here's another one. I love Denzel Washington, and I love the movie. Excuse me. I love Denzel Washington, and I love the movie where he is the blind man. He memorized the Bible, and he's walking through the desert, and it's a passage from the Bible, and I'll just read one quote from it, because when I not to scare everybody, because I know I do that sometimes.
You're fine.
But I get morbid sometimes. And it's just because if you know, and it goes back to Oprah, is that when we wake up, like I was lucky to wake up today and I get 86,400 seconds today. How do I want to spend my time? And that's how we're spending our time. And then I know that when I go to my grave, I want to be able to say this, you know, I've fought a good fight to the end, and I've run the race to the finish, and I have kept the faith. The crown, but the Lord stood by me and gave me power so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed for all to hear. I was saved by the lion's mouth. The Lord will rescue me from all evil attempts on me, and being safe his heavenly kingdom. To him be glory forever and ever. Amen. I know that's kind of deep, but for me, it's just like, I fought a good fight. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, you know, it's like, if we're not here on the planet to help make someone else's life better, then why are we here? And And as a farmer, as a teacher, as an actor, like ultimately speaking, like I really believe that while we're here on this planet, right, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and how we treat one another. And those are lessons. And like, yeah, maybe I might have been the bully in the past. Doesn't mean I have to be one today. Maybe I might have been this person. Doesn't mean I have to be. Maybe I was this person. Maybe, you know, but you can change in an instant. You can change it. It doesn't have to be. And like I was telling somebody, like, who are you going to listen to? Somebody who, for instance, somebody who is telling you to do good, who's done good their whole life, or somebody who's done bad and then started to do good. Like, so everyone's got a story in them, and that if we share our stories to inspire one another, you know, it just makes life just a little bit more bearable.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's what I love about the art. So.
Yeah. One of your favorite music artists that helps you unwind?
I love this question. What musical artists help me unwind? Well, oh wow. I don't unwind. That's the thing that people don't get. And everyone goes, "What? You don't unwind?" Well, yeah, I kind of do, I guess, but I kind of like wind up, I guess, for the lack of a better term. And I don't approve of some of the messages of this artist, but I do like the attitude behind it, and I'm a big fan of Eminem, you know, and I'm a big fan of Eminem, and it's just, and I was just watching an interview from him the other day, and or like, you know, Tupac, you know, Roses Through Concrete. It's you know, Eminem, it's that Cinderella Man story, and I play that song all the. If you ever listen to the song Cinderella Man by Eminem, or there's some songs there that the clean versions of them are very motivational. Or like 8 Mile. It's just like, yeah, like you get one shot to make this happen, you know? Like, so for my audition for Darman, whoa, I literally, it got to a point. You ever watch like Rocky where he gets in a fight with Adrian and he's just like, yo, Adrian, I'm a fighter. It's what I do, you know? And when I'm in the ring and you're worried about me, I'm worried about you. So I'm getting my head smashed in, you know? Let me do what I got to do. So it got to the point where I had to break up in a loving relationship that I was in, to the point where, because the actor lifestyle is not like the most like, hey, you want to date an actor? You know, it's not the most, you know, you're going after somebody who's chasing a dream is what you're going, you know, but, you know, it's interesting. And so I literally laid everything on the line, and I got to the point where I had to become vulnerable. And that's my first one where my daughter and I are living out of a car. And that was oh, shoot. Yeah. Check this out. I couldn't move I had arm surgery. I couldn't move my arm I was going to lose my arm.
Yeah.
When I was a shop teacher, and they did the surgery on me. And so after the surgery, I couldn't work for a year, and I couldn't even move this arm. Hence the kettlebell, you know, and so anyways, I had a moment of I could either go this way or I could go the other way. And I decided, well, I got a lot of life to live. Let me go the other way. So I started working out, you know, let me see what I can do. Anyways, pandemic hits. And all of a sudden I'm done with my physical therapy with my arm. I have no job. I have nothing. I get this one audition to be a homeless man living out of a car with his daughter. I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, this is all I have, God. All right. And I practiced. I mean, I put more time into that audition than anything else. The audition itself is, I should repost it, but it's so raw. It scares me. It's so like, I'm literally like, I put everything I had into that, and it worked. And I go back to, had I not put everything in it, like, I mean, you're talking like I broke up with a relationship. I like this. I literally put everything into that one thing. So I show up in the middle of this park, and his name, and I actually so Rishi's, who's the other director now, he got hired that day. And so the Darman family's kind of grown there. So when I go back to Darman Studios last week, this Monday, what people don't know is they don't know the origin of it. And so I literally went to 3 sets. That's how big it's gotten, that I got lost trying to find, and it's just like, goes, what do you mean? We're adding more. And I said, you have to understand that this is a Cinderella story of everything that's happened. So yeah, so I love Eminem and that, that grit. That's what I was telling students. I don't care what your background is. If you don't have grit, you don't have grit.
Yeah.
Like I don't like mom, dad could be rich as heck. Doesn't make if you don't have grit, you can't buy grit. And that's what I like about the Eminem story is that he's got the encyclopedia in his brain.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, true. How have your experience affected your life long term, good or bad? Did those experiences change your goals or change the direction of your career?
That is a very complex question.
Yeah.
If I wasn't an actor, there's a lot of experiences I wish that never happened at all. Done. Right? Like you mentioned, one of your favorite videos is with Aiden and I, right?
Yeah.
And so Aiden has to cry, and Aiden goes, all right, Johnny, this is what I do to cry. I ain't going to tell you a secret. I'll just leave it at that. And he goes, and then he goes, what do you do, Johnny? I go, I just cry. And so there's just certain experience I just, but as an actor, oh my God, you don't know what it's like to have a nervous breakdown. You don't know what it's like to get, in a fight. You don't know what it's like to this. You don't know, so that's the one thing, starting off as an actor in my middle age, right? As I'm an older guy starting this journey, right? I'm not some, everyone goes, you started, it's like, yeah, I started off late. I'm a late bloomer. And so I'd get in these acting classes, and then I'm like, everyone else is like, wait, how do you know about that? I'm like, you never been arrested in Mexico during spring break? Come on. Who hasn't? Yeah. Wait, you've never been arrested? You've never been to a Switzerland jail cell before? It's like, you have? Yeah, my friend's the cop there. He's the cop at so we took a photo, what I mean? So it goes, what? And it's like, yeah, so I love one of my favorite movies. I love time travel films, and I love time traveling and living 1,000 different lives. And so growing up as a kid with asthma, with pneumonia, and living on this farm, my imagination, I could live everywhere in here, which, in the real world is crazy, right? Yeah. But it's good kind of crazy if you're in Hollywood. And so my family finally said, there's nothing wrong with you, Johnny. You don't need therapy, maybe a little bit of therapy, but but you probably just need to go to Hollywood, So I wear lots of hats in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So put that one on there. And so that's what I love about being an independent filmmaker, things like that. This is what I've done is make a vision board.
Awesome.
Big fan. I got to work with Brad Pitt. I thought I could talk about this.
Absolutely.
So I do background work and feature background work, make my own music videos, things like that. Oh yeah. So I got to work with Brad Pitt on the film Babylon. When someone goes work with him, I'm like, well, hopefully I don't get cut from the scene. But his character lands on me. So I'm like, all right. And then Keanu Reeves, never met the guy, but he requested me to be friends on LinkedIn. I was like, yeah, right. That's got to be a bunch of US. No, it really was. I was like, yeah, because think about this. If Keanu Reeves calls you up and you don't have a motorcycle license, what are you going to do? Think about that. Now, people saying that's insane, but really think about it. I'd rather be one of my greatest quotes that is I'd rather be prepared for an opportunity that never happens than have the opportunity and not be prepared. Right, here's my motorcycle license. I just have to send it in.
Awesome.
But Jimmy Kimball, but yeah, my vision board. Yeah, it'd be great to have like a wife and kid one day. Like that's mine, you know. But like, yeah. So I like doing vision boards. So when I was a substitute teacher, before I lost my job as a substitute teacher for Dartmouth, it's like, it's weird because these kids are like, you're famous. I'm like, yeah, but with the fourth graders, you know?
Yeah.
Was, you know, so it's not really good. Like, so it threw the school off, but what I liked about it, they gave me my own coloring
Pokemon.
book.
Yeah.
Pokemon. And so the kids they were fans. So I was signing autographs. So that's what's cool about it. But something about me too. Oh, here you go. So I went to the Darman. When I was studying, so those people that want to know, I'm goal oriented, and this is like the Darman studio pad.
Yeah.
That I write my goals and things like that on. But I never. Sometimes because I like time traveling. And that's what's nice about filmmaking is that you can do that now. But sometimes I'll get letters that'll never open up. This is actually from my director who actually worked with me to write my show. And that was the thing. I had this former student goes, Mr. Avila, how'd you get into acting? And I did a video on my Instagram. And I said, you know, it's the only community that as a group accepted me. And what do they do? I go, kind of just a little love and some acceptance, a little less judging.
Yeah.
You know, nothing major, you know, just join. Oh, you want to join not everyone's like that, but I still haven't even opened up this letter because it's really hard for me to compliment myself.
Yeah.
And so I still haven't opened it, but one day, so I'm one of those people that I will hide treasures. So when I'm having that one day that I'm just like, that's it, I'm done, I'll go open up that letter. And so how I did my show was I had this gas can full of notes for my students from 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I read them. And that's the fuel I needed to break the atmosphere. And so I was telling this somebody, I can't even talk crap about myself anymore. I mean, I can, but I can't. You can talk crap about yourself, but after you accomplish it, it's kind of hard to talk crap about yourself.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, we're not talking about it, we're doing it. And that's and that was the thing. I kid you not, I literally was like, God, put me with a group of people that want to change the world and have a positive message out there about kindness and respect. And then, so that's the thing is, what I've learned through my journey is it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But the parameters of the idea of itself will happen. And so the fact that I have videos that are played around the world, that's insane. Yeah. That are in different languages. And I'm like, wow, I'm thinking TV. Nobody watches TV. They watch YouTube, right? I don't even have a TV. Look. You see a TV there? No, I'm gonna get one eventually. Yeah. And I still, so it's been a really, that's why I tell my students along your journey, you're gonna meet people, your soul tribe, I like to say, that are gonna join you. And so I consider us a part of the same soul tribe. And that along the way, people, and so like my solo show was written by a community of people. It was like, you know, I can't take 100% credit. Even if I could take 100% credit, why would I? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, they say the top is lonely. Well, yeah, if you don't take anybody with you. Mm-hmm. And so that's I did that when Carl passed away, was that, let me see if I have it here. Yeah. But it's like, oh yeah, I watched this on this. Yeah. So it's like this guy took this lighter, right? And he's like, you know, sometimes your lighter doesn't work, but you need somebody else to get that spark in you. And so one of the things growing up with asthma and pneumonia, I was on the school track team. And then as a teacher, we would do fundraisers. And my former student, Noe Gomez, shout out Carpinteria FFA, Empire Strong. I thought you were going to do it. We did this thing where you're in this, because life is a marathon, right? We do this thing where you get to a place, you kind of peter out and somebody grab you by your shirt and then grab you and pull you along the way, give you a little boost. So having you do this this week is actually a big boost for me. And so the cool part is my former students, some of them have stayed with me along the ride. So have you ever heard of Ring Doorbell? Do you guys have that? What country are you from again, by the way?
I'm from the United States. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. So you do get the Ring Doorbell over there. Absolutely. So if you look on the back of the Ring Doorbell, I'm the delivery guy. And so what happened was I did an Uber commercial. I was teaching floral design and welding, right? And excuse me, and welding. And what happened was I booked this Uber commercial, and during the audition, they asked me if I did yoga. And I said, well, not where I grew up. You know, I grew up between Bakersfield and Fresno, and it's cheaper probably just to take Uber than pay for parking in LA. And you can drink, don't have to worry about getting a DUI, and about time you free for parking. Plus the buildings are tall and you get distracted. And so anyways, the first, I got chosen, and the first 5 seconds of the commercial is exactly what I said. Me walking out of the theater, and they took a farm couple walking out of the theater in New York City and all this stuff. And it was just, and they played it all the time. And then that's what happened. And my family was just like, well, you know what? Why don't you just keep going and see what happens? Yeah. You know, you have a teaching credential, you have this, you've already went to college, you have a house, you've done all this, see what happens. And so the hardest thing was making that transition. And so I don't know if you remember the Dr. Ken show on ABC. So I got to do a live taping back. But do you remember the movie The Hangover?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember the gentleman that was in the trunk that jumped out that was naked? That's him. All right. So along my journey, I've met so many different celebrities in so many different ways, as through background work, or like as a bartender or as a teacher or something, but mostly through background work. And Dr. Ken is a real doctor. And that's what motivated me was I was watching the MTV WTF Awards. And he was getting an award for jumping out of the trunk, you know, at the TF, you know, and he gave a speech about how his wife was dying of cancer and how he should go live his life before it's too late. Now, she ends up surviving. She's a cancer survivor, thank God. And so that's what pushed him to do it. And it took some near-death experience stuff to push it. And I always remember that story. And then one day I'm doing background work for a live taping on ABC for his live taping for a Halloween special, right? Wow. Now, by the way, I'm teaching and I'm using my sick days. I can say this now, I'm not teaching anymore. There goes that job, right? I was using my sick days to go on auditions and stuff. And so people would be like, hey, that's Mr. Avila. I go, no, it's not. So I grow a beard. And so that's why if you look at my Instagram, it's Johnny Catfish, because it's like, so finally I put my real name. But yeah, for the longest time, people, even like this, when I did the Uber commercial, because I taught veterinary science, the school, this town vet called me up and he goes, there's this guy that looks like you that's in this Uber commercial. I go, yeah, it's me. And so, the cool part was I taught all this motivational stuff. Finally, these kids that weren't coming to school are talking like 30 days, like not showing up to school, one day showing up. Hey, Mr. Alva, is that you in the Uber commercial? I'm like, yeah. They're like, wow, all that stuff you taught does work. I go, yeah, but here's the thing. Like, I'd rather be prepared for an opportunity that never happens than have the opportunity not be prepared. I didn't know. And so as Steven Spielberg, right, famous director, we all know, said a great quote, you can't connect the dots forwards, but you can connect the dots backwards. And so like right now I'm going through a little tough time in my life right now, but in my brain, I'm going back to like, oh, wow, this is going to make a great story one day. You know what I mean? Like, what's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? And so that's the thing now is that I'm fully focusing on like full-time acting. Yeah. So I literally have no idea when my next job is. I'm like, all right, just because the issue is in the past I've had a full-time job where, hey, they booked you for this film, you can't do it because you got that job, or you know, sometimes you get a last minute second, so you have to be available. And so it's kind of like going into the unknown. But my family's from the Azore Islands, and they were navigators of the world, the Portuguese. And so my godparents always had to tell me, they're like, so when your ancestors were going around the world on a ship, they didn't know that there was going to be land over there. I'm like, yeah, good point. You know, so what's the difference? And so that's as humans going into the unknown, like going into the unknown. And that was like climbing Mount Whitney. You know what's on the other side of what's on the other side of that mountain? You want to know? Yeah. Greatness. That's what's on the other side.
Yeah.
And so God had me until I conquered my fears, and there's still fears, and I'm still a work in progress. I'm always going to be, and I'm always learning what I thought, what I thought one way. I think, some of my best friends grew up as a dairy farmer in a large family. Some of my best friends are vegans against the dairy industry and against large families, and I'm like, and I learned that we can have differences of opinions, but still love and care about each other. And was like so interesting that in my journey in the artist acting world, and my friend's like, and she helped put half my show together, like with my images.
Wow.
And it was like, well, Johnny, just because, and I'm like, yeah. So I went to Anthony Mindel's acting studio, one of the largest acting studios actually around the world, has around the world. And it was like probably I've gone there for almost a decade now. And what was it? Done films with them, things like that. But what was it? It was like my year 3 into it, because I'm like nervous, and I'm driving, like I'm teaching, and I'm driving from, like, I taught in the Ojai, Santa Barbara area. So I'm driving like an hour and a half, 2 hours from LA every night, teaching, going back, taking these classes and hiding my identity. Because they finally goes, Johnny, what is it? Why are you so nervous? Yeah, they taught me meditation. So with all that energy, meditation, learning Tai Chi in my stunt school, helping me with my energy, controlling that energy. Yeah. And so going to Anthony Mindel's studio, they asked me, they said, what is it, Johnny? What is it? I said, well, you know how you accept everyone's lifestyles? And they said, yeah, how we should accept, as long as somebody's being, they're not, you know what I mean? They're being humane, and everyone's being, following the law, and, and that we should accept everyone's lifestyles,
Right.
Regardless. They said, yeah, and I said, okay. I was like, I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer.
Absolutely. And
I said, less than 2%, I go, less than 1.5% of the population feeds the world, and we get crapped on. I go, it's easy to make. I go, this commercial that's going to be coming out for Shell gas station, I applied to be the dairy farmer. Didn't get it. And I got the truck driver. Just as good. And they're using cow manure to run diesel trucks. 1 cow can run 1 diesel truck 800 miles. How cool is that, right?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But my whole point was, and finally, they all, you know what they did?
What?
They went, that's it.
Wow.
Here I'm thinking they're not going to love me or care about me because now that's just the world that wants to divide us. You know what I mean? It's just the people just want to divide you. You know what I mean? And so when you find, and that was it. They were just like, that's it. And I said, yeah. That's what you were hiding? I was like, yeah. I was like, I eat meat.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with, I was on a survival show, sustainable, whatever it is. I said, I believe in, what you don't know is I have a master's degree in agriculture education. I'm an agriculture educational specialist. And so for me, I'm a citizen of the world. So when I'm thinking of food prices, I'm thinking of like that country that no one even knows the name of it. And, in South Africa, where where it's like when food prices, well, who pays that price? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Prices are high over here too. Don't get me wrong, but who really pays it? That's where my brain's thinking. And that's an NFJ personality. Yeah. Is how we're thinking. And I did a Bosch power tool commercial, right?
Awesome. Yeah.
And I learned this from the lady, actually, because that's what my show hits on, is farm suicide, and mental health for students and teachers. And it was during the Bosch power tool commercial that the lady informed me that farmers have this gene in them that want to feed people. Go figure. Wouldn't that be something to cool to have a part of a tribe? This person was like, hey, did you eat today? What do you mean? Hey, did you eat today? You know what I mean? All right, we're gonna take care of that. So, because you can't have art, you can't have like without protection and food and your basic necessities, right? Sad to mention it, but I have to mention it. What's going on in Ukraine? I just have to. Whoa, that just basic humanity. Like we can't just live on a planet like without people just starting stuff. Like literally, like seriously. And that's what I loved about agriculture was like when I got to go. I took my nephew and everything. I love South America. I got to go to Machu Picchu, and that's what I loved about the Peruvians. When people are trying to conquer them, they're like, what is it? What? Well, we need food. All right, we got that. Here, what else do you need? Well, we need protection. We got that too. Why don't you just join us? And that's what I love about the Darman family, is that everyone's humble, just humble as pie. Like seriously, like there's no like. Don't get me wrong, like you're gonna have egos and things like that, but and I've been on major sets, big studios, but like it seems like the bigger the star, the more humble they are, and it makes sense. And same thing with the Darman crew. And I have to say this because I said it in an interview. So like some people grew up watching. I grew up Walt Disney, right? And I said it. I consider Darman your guys, this generation's Walt Disney. Here's somebody that was told that they weren't going to mount. I'm talking about Walt Disney was told that he wasn't going to do anything, right? And so now he's getting to animation, he's getting to this, and it's expanding. And so that's why I kind of say, you have this imagination and where can you take it? But that's what I really, if anything that helped me out in my career, in life, and everything is knowing that I have a group of people in Los Angeles that are literally right. I live right not too far from the studio, and that's the fact that there's a studio. That there's a group of people, and when I go on Instagram or I go on social media, and I go, "Wow, I know that." Like, not that I know that person. That person, I know that person because it takes like what people don't get. I'm like that's what I love about Keanu Reeves. I'm going to talk about the crew. You know what I mean? It's like the amount of people it takes to put that together, like you don't even see. But in order for me to cry, in order for me to do my lines, in order for me to do all that, I have to be around a group of people that I feel comfortable with. And who I became, because where my acting started and where it's at today, I feel it's changed dramatically just working with Darman. Like I know like as a kid, like so I go back to being a 5-year-old kid when I'm on set. Because as a little kid, and that's what's great about being the dad, is because then I'm with the kids, I'm like, great, I get to be a kid with them, because they're I'm not the real dad. So the real dad and role model right there. So they, they're on their best behavior. So as a little kid, you've always wanted to know where the stairs go. Yeah. Now you know where they go. They don't go anywhere. And so as a kid, I always said, hey, I'm going to be on TV one day. And I've always had this, I want to pop into the TV. And, you can't do it. I even sat on a TV when I was a kid. I was like, I told you I'm going to be on it. And what's cool about it, the big thing is I have 23 nieces, 13 nephews, and they're fans. And that's the cool part, is that I get to share with my family.
Right.
And I actually started an argument with my niece. She's going to love this. So all my nieces and nephews, I can't say all your guys' names out there, but this goes out to Monterey and Cruz, got into the biggest argument and a fight over the Darman pen or the Darman ink pad. So and I was like, oh my God. So if you want kids to fight, give them something, I was like, that's going to make a great Darman video one day. But I hope to be in more Darman videos. I look forward to because you don't know, they said this to you. I remember Aiden, they said this to you. And they're like, they'll call you back. And I'm like, really? They said the same thing to me. You know what I mean? And so it's not that the other studios aren't like great or anything. It's not that at all. It's just the mindset of how you're being treated. Yeah. Like, you're not being babied, but you're not, you got to know your lines. You got to be on top of your stuff. But at the same time, like I did a video, you can watch on my Instagram. So his name's Rick, and I went to Second City with him. And so I did a live Instagram with them. And then all of a sudden I got told, hey, we're filming. You need to be quiet. Go outside. And then they came and apologized to tell me. And I'm like, I'm the one that was talking, not you. You know what I mean? And it just shows you. But the cool part was is like even Darman liked the video. You know what I mean? It was just like, wow. But a big part I want to give a shout out to is Catherine Norland.
She's awesome.
Okay, so here's the thing. So when I talk about the law of attraction, check this out. So it's my, let's see here. I did the homeless father in the car, and then, yeah, it's my second Darman video, believe it or not. And it's the only time I played the bad guy. I said I'm not wearing a mask for political reasons. And the girl that played my daughter, Sophia, there's a lot of Sophias in the group. She played the opposite. So it was like, now she's not playing my daughter, making fun of her. And so, by the way, I was in what's interesting is this is Darman's first studio, the original studio, which I didn't even know. So the day before, I'm in a chicken pen on my family's farm. Okay, now understand this. I'm in a chicken pen in the middle of nowhere. I get this, hey, can you come to LA and play, sure, I'm there. So I get there, and now I'm downtown LA on top of a skyscraper.
Wow.
In a penthouse. And I'm thinking they rented this. No, it's the studio. I'm like, what's a studio in a penthouse? Like one of my favorite shows growing up was Different Strokes. So I kind of felt like that. And then anyway, so I meet Catherine and I go, I know who you are. And she goes, really? I go, oh, I remember your eyes. And so her face, I'm really sensitive, I guess that's as actors, right? And I seen her face kind of go down a little bit. And she goes, oh, I said, no, not because of, I said, no, because I have a niece. She's got one blue eye, one brown eye. And she always felt ashamed of it. I said, no, you should brag about the things that we're trying to hide are the things that we should show. Yeah. And I said, so because of you, she's, and I said, but that's not the reason why I recognized you. And she goes, what is it? See, a shout out to Lovey Johnson. We did a Western film and other films with Levy. And the thing is Catherine was a producer for a short film contest that we were doing at Warner Brothers 2 years before all this. So she was a producer for a film. So I got to work with her before. And the cool part is I've been in 2 films with Catherine since then. Yeah. That we've never known. I filmed in the day, she filmed that night, and we ended up in the same film. Wow. And so, yeah, isn't that interesting? And then so she plays the wife, and what was I going to say? So that's the thing is that it's like, and I can't say for all the actors because I can't speak for all of them because the family's like growing huge, but for the ones that I know of and I've worked with, we all have this sense of like, there's a higher power. We're here to do some good. We're here, there's a humbleness, there's a caring, there's a heart, there's a heal. So who I am today and where I started, it's completely changed. So like that film that you liked with Aiden and everything, we actually filmed 2 shows that week. Wow. And so what happened was I was trying to show the studio that I have many looks. Uh-huh. I went from the homeless man, right? Yeah. Then there's the Christmas special. Uh-huh. And I also played Catherine's husband, and Catherine was dying of cancer. Yeah. And that's when it's in my acting reel, and I'm giving, and that's where Carl is playing the father. He's giving out Christmas trees, and Brianna Walker's playing the daughter. And that one right there hit hard because we're going through COVID, we're going through all this. And it's like, no matter what hard times we're going through, we should always celebrate, Right. And that, so what happened was, I loved the directors that they have. So what they did was, because remember I have a lot of energy. Yeah. So they kept me up all day. So I'm on set all day. And I'm like, why am I could be at home. You know what I mean? But okay, yeah. I'm getting paid. I'm with everyone. This is fine, right? So I ended up falling asleep on set. I wake up and all I see is the ceiling. And then I wake up. You ever fallen asleep somewhere at like a grandmother's house? Or you wake up and you're like, where am I? That's what happened. I was a little delirious. I was like, where am I? And then I look up and I thought I was dreaming. I was in a Darman video. Wow. And then finally they go, no, Johnny, this is real. And I'm like, what? And they said, oh, we had to get you tired because you're older. Your character's older now. And so now that you're groggy, I go, oh, smart move. You know what I mean? The method acting there. And so, but I woke up, and that's the day. That was the day to get more personal with you and everyone who's watching that's interested. Is that's the day I remember of refining my purpose in life.
Yeah.
Because Mark Twain said the two most important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you find out. And I remember telling Catherine and everybody that we even sung Silent Night that day. And that's when I was like, because I had to cry. My wife's dying of cancer. Like, who wants to do a Christmas special of your wife dying of cancer? Like, really?
Yeah.
It happens.
Uh-huh.
There's people around the world that have that story that need to hear that. And that's when I was like, Roger that, God. I got you. We're here to tell stories, to show the world our emotions, because not everyone can show their emotions.
Yeah.
And that I'm going to use my God-given gift to show the world my emotions. And if you want to make fun of me, go ahead. You want to do this, go ahead. Because I already went through all that. It can't hurt me now. You know what I mean? It's like I went through that. So all those things as a kid, that's what I was, all your questions that you asked me are all comes back to the same point. It all happened for a great reason.
Yeah.
Because I'm using it today. And to say, if you had to go, if I quit or if I gave up, never would have had it. And that's why I go back to my mom said, just keep going. You know, you never know. On the other side of that mountain is greatness. And that the fact that there's people around the world that are watching these and they can watch them over and over, and that the legacy continues, and that I played a small part. I got to play a small part in someone's life that make that day just a little brighter, just a little happier. Because I know that I need that in my life. I had a student this week, former student Anthony, and here I am doing background work for the TV show Ballers with The Rock, right?
Yeah.
I guess I look like one of the football players there, and he sends me, like I said, along your journey, people are gonna motivate you and give you a boost. And he sends me this video of The Rock being a wrestler, talking about how he wanted to be an actor.
Yeah. And
I go, hey, Anthony, why did you send this to me? And he goes, oh, because I remember how you talked in class, how you were going to be an actor and da-da-da-da. I said, just to let you know, The Rock's standing 20 feet away from me.
Wow.
So this week, he doesn't know this, but I sent it to him. You guys don't know this, which is fine. I try to live a private life. He sends me Eye of the Tiger. And that's how I kind of feel like, it's like, nah, like don't trade your passion for glory. And that's why I feel that every story that we're doing, I know I've done other movies and other things like that, but I can't say enough about the Dhar Mann. That's my foundation. That's just because of the fan base and it's real. That's the thing. It's authentic. It's not, it's real. It's like, this is like literally cutting to the heart of matters to people, like getting to the point. So it's not like, ooh, you cut me deep. That's, so working with Carl, working with, the crew, the directors, everybody along, it's been a Cinderella story. We're all rising together. And yes. And so it's inspirational. And so he sends me the Rocky video. I'm back on track. So I got a little emotional there. He sends me the Rocky video. And it's like, what did Rocky want to do? You know what Rocky wanted to do in Rocky 1? Do you even know? I'm going to interview you. You know what he wanted to do? He just wanted to go the distance.
Yeah.
Just go the distance. And so as long as I don't quit, like so far, no one's told me no. Right? So you know the movie, you know the movie La La Land?
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, okay. So the director's name's Damien. And he's the director for Babylon, which is Brad Pitt's in. You with me? And so here we are. We're here at Paramount Studios, and they go, all right, and it's a hot day, and you want to be on the sound stage, right? There's air conditioning, and they go, all right, everyone go back in. This break time's over. We're going back in. or when your break's over, just go back in. So I'm like, there's about 20 of us. I'm like, all right, I'll lead the charge. So I walk in, and I know that Brad Pitt and the director and everyone's up in the front, and I just, like a train, I'm going in. I'm walking with I'm faking it the whole time. Like, all right, you know, I'm so scared to not look like I'm confident. I don't even look behind me. I don't even, that's how confident I am. I'm the leader and everyone's following me. I sit down, I turn around and there's nobody.
Wow.
There's nobody. So it's me, Brad Pitt, Damien, the director, and this other day actor that's there. 4 of us on a soundstage for 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
Now, you know what happened to my nerves after an hour of that? It went away.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, no one told me to leave. No one said, what are you doing here? Nobody, like, just, you know, and then I go out there and I go, where did you guys go? And they all went, we saw everybody up there, so we turned around. I was like, and that's the thing, you know, you can't climb the mountain if you turn around.
Yeah, right. All right. Before we wrap up this interview, one advice would you give someone out there today who feels like they are not good enough to accomplish anything that they set their minds to? What advice would you give someone out there?
One advice. Take a piece of paper, fold it, right? You're enough. So for 5 years, I had "you're enough" on my refrigerator door.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Here's the big lie. You know, here's the thing. My big advice is that there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to be fixed, and you're enough. We don't need to do extra. We just need to exist. And that's the thing, is that the truth is you're enough. Yeah. The lie is that you're not enough. That's what advertising, marketing, and all that, most of that stuff does. It sell. Oh, if you buy this hair product or this makeup, or if you eat this, or if you do this, it'll make your life fabulous and glorious. Oh, yes. No, it's not. Those are just giant stories that we make up in LA and Hollywood that we tell everyone for entertainment purposes. And that's what I love about the Darman Studios, because there's stories that somebody connected with some way or another. And I have people around the world going, you know what? I don't have a dad. You're my dad. And so now I'm like, you know what? I'll be a role model. Heck yeah. You know what, God? That's what I want to be. In fact, it makes me want to be a better person. So I got to make sure I don't cuss so much and make sure, live up to that image. I'm a work in progress. But at the end of the day, from internal to external, end of story. Why would you need a Lamborghini? Why would you need anything? All these, don't get me wrong. I want it. It's nice. But I don't need it, because the kingdom of God is within you. And that's what I'm trying to get at. At the end of the day, you're enough. Like, what I mean by enough is, do you need to eat a whole pizza? No, a couple slices. It's enough. I don't need the whole thing. We don't need to have this luxurious lifestyle. We don't need to have all this. You know what I mean? If you want to know how I live my life, it would be insane. You want to see this? Here, I'll take your audience on a. Okay. Oh my God, I'm going to get so.
I'll put you on the big screen.
I'm going to get vulnerable. This is my world. This is the world I live in, 24/7.
Yeah.
You see that? I'm in a box, and that's it. I wake up in a gym. I go to sleep in a studio. I wake up in a studio. That's my bed. It's a wall bed. Comes down. I want to win that bad that I wake up in a gym. I go to sleep in a gym. I wake up in a studio. I go to sleep in a studio. And that at the end of the day, there's a dream inside you. And if you don't chase it, you are committing mental suicide. And by you chasing that dream, you will be amazed by the things that you can accomplish. Like today, I wanted to give up. I wanted to reschedule this audition because I have high anxiety and things like that.
Yeah.
So I got to meditate, do all that stuff. Right. And I'm like, right. The little kid voice.
Yep.
being in school. Oh, Johnny, you're not smart. Look at you. You can't get this figured out. Da, 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 da. It's just an application. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden you heard me and I seen you. I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm persistent. I'll figure this out. You know what I mean? And sometimes you could be right and the world makes you the wrong one. And so my advice is you're enough from internal to external. And once I figured that out, everything else came into flow. And it's easier than said than done. But once you figure that out, that you're enough, you start looking at life because everyone goes, why do you laugh so much? I go, because once I figured that out, life just became really funny. Yeah. Like Stephen Hawking said, life would be tragic. Life would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. And it took me the longest time to figure out that joke because we're literally here and then we're gone. So why are we getting all and I'm guilty of this. That's why I laugh about it. Like, one day when you find out that this was all some TV show that we were on planet Earth so you went ape crap on somebody and you knew you were going to die. So why did you know what I mean? Why, and that's the message I would say is that you're enough from internal to external and that look from inside to the outside. And if you look from what you have inside, you have enough. Like you have everything you need to accomplish your dreams, like serious. And as we reach for these other things that we think, and I'm guilty of it. Like, oh, I need that, or I need that. Like most of my videos that I post on Instagram, they're not even fancy. I just kind of I improv it, I like saying mistakes. The world's becoming so polished and so perfect that we think that we need to be, we're not robots. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we, and even if we were, why would we want to be? And so, I look at that, going from, when you figure that out, life becomes real funny because you're just you start looking at your own BS, like my own BS in my own life that, why am I acting that way? Or why you think that if I buy that new jacket, that's going to make me feel better about myself? I was no, feeling better about because and that's what I hit on because I come from a family with money, and that's what I wrote my show about, was that because regardless of the money or without the money, unless you take care of this and this, it sounds so cliche, but look at all the people that have done some really bad things in life over the name of money. Oh, and so I'll end it with this because I love statistics. Yeah. So I was getting a sandwich the other day in the neighborhood, and this guy was all like, because we have all this inflation, everything's costing more, and I know it is. It's all hurting us all. And he goes, man, everything's cost so much more, and this and that, and da da da. And he was talking about his friend who became a multimillionaire and how he's mean now and how to break up the relationship. I said, yeah, that's what money does. It pretty much exposes your insecurities. You know what I mean? Hey, look at me now. Look what it exposes your insecurities one way or another. And I said, check this out. I go, let's say you had $1 billion. That's 1,000 million. That's a lot of money. You with me?
Yes.
Now compared to the top 3 richest people in the world, you with me? You're still poor compared to them.
Yeah.
You don't have like this is something you can look this up on YouTube. Like you can have $50 billion. You're still poor compared to the top 3 people in the world.
Yep.
So the issue is, and it took me a while to figure that out, is that, I'm in competition with myself. Can I improve? Like this guy today, I'm going to murder him tonight. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and try, and I'm going to trying is an excuse, and be a better version of myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that little by little. And, but at the end of the day, when you figure out you're enough, and until then, write it, put it where you see it. And so on my mirror, I have quotes written everywhere around it.
Wow.
So so when I'm looking at it, I'm on it because we're living in a world that if you're vulnerable, right, you can lose your job, you can lose your livelihood, you can lose all that stuff. But being the actor, I get to do that for you.
Yeah.
We get, that's, the person gets to play the bad guy. They get to do that for you. You know what I mean? Like that, that episode, I know we're dragging this out.
No, you're fine.
The autism video, that actor has real autism, and they have, because I have students with autism, and they were on my tractor drive, the things that I've learned. And so going into the unknown, yeah, some bad things could happen. You know, I'm a surfer now. I took up surfing. I'm doing more ever since I climbed that mountain. I was like, what else can I do? What else can I do? And yeah, it's scary. You're on a surfboard and hey, there's sharks underneath me. Like what there's all these other things. But if I focus on that, I'm going to miss out on the wave of my life. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so if I'm, and so that's where I had to change my brain. Hey, if I could say all these bad things about me, which are lies, well, why don't I say the truth about me? Because I was born, like I said, the most two important days, Mark Twain, the day you were born and the day you find out. And then you trying to figure out why you were born, because you are, and you're enough, and your tragedy could be your superpower.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. At this time, can you tell everyone where they can find you on social media?
Perfect. Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Johnny J Catfish. You can also find me on YouTube. I have some of my auditions on YouTube, but I also have a series when I was a teacher called Ag Time with Avila. Without agriculture, there's no culture. But mostly I'm on Instagram, and I use that pretty much to run my business. My casting agents see it. Everyone sees it there. And so I love making little videos and stories and inspiring everyone. And sometimes I get self-conscious and I stop doing things. And then every now and then a friend or a fan will reach out and say, hey, Johnny, can you tell us some more stories? I'm like, okay. But yeah, so check me out on Instagram. I can't wait to check you out, and we're going to rise together.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Johnny, I want to thank you so much for being my 32nd guest on Standing Strong with Waylon Myers.
Yes, thank you for having me. You're inspiring me, so thank you.
Thank you. Remember to always be well, honest, and inspiring. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You just watched Standing Strong with Waylon Myers. Follow and support the show on social media on Facebook, Standing Strong with Waylon Myers, on Trail, SSW Waylon Myers, on Instagram, Standing Strong with Waylon Myers, and on TikTok, SSW Waylon Myers. And for everything Standing Strong with Waylon Myers, visit the official website at www.waylonmyers.com. Until next week, everyone, thank you for watching.